Mr. Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Lovely and cold Ottumwa, Iowa.
It's cold, but beautiful.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. This week's time, how Trump won. Past tense, almost. You got out of the race today. Do you feel like you have won something?
No, I don't. I really don't. I think that the Time article was incredibly well written. It was really, I mean, that is a good writer, I will tell you that, a professional. But I feel that if I don't win all of it, and I mean the presidency, that I've wasted my time. I know I've been given accolades for the job we've done and everything else.
You've shifted the debate.
Well, especially being somewhat of a novice. And I've been, people have said very nice things like Time magazine, but I really feel that if I don't win, I can't make the difference. We're not going to bring back trade. We're not going to straighten out our military. We're not going to get rid of Obamacare and come up with a real health care plan. And we're not going to straighten.
But one could argue everybody's changed their messaging to try to copy you, whether it's Cruz, Rubio. I mean, everybody has taken a turn for tougher talk. So you've had an impact already.
Well,
that's why I'm
happening.
wondering, do you feel like you have won so far?
Well, I even saw Ted Cruz the other day, just a few days ago, saying we will build a wall. I said, where did that come from all of a sudden? You know, I mean, these are things that are coming out. And if you look at what's happened with the Muslims, a lot of people are starting to say, hey, wait a minute, Trump is sort of right. We're going to have to start looking at this because there's a lot of bad things. You look at Philadelphia last night, you look at all of these things that are happening. And a lot of people are saying we have to study and we have to see what's going on. We cannot destroy this incredible country of ours. Can't do it.
You know there's this running conventional wisdom about you with some in the establishment that now say, okay, he's here to say, but if he doesn't win Iowa, he'll leave. He'll leave the race.
I'm not leaving. No, I'm not leaving. You and I had this discussion about 2 months ago where you said, would you leave? I was in number one. I've been number one just about since I joined up, right? June 16th. Amazing. We've had a lot of fun. But you asked me that question.
Yeah.
I started talking about, well, maybe here, maybe there, right. If this happened.
There's no maybes anymore.
There's no maybes. There's no maybes. I'm not leaving.
You're going straight to the convention.
Going all the way. If I don't win, I don't win. But, right. You know, maybe that can happen. But I'm leading every poll
and you'll
big.
accept the idea that you might lose Iowa. You could lose it.
I hope I win Iowa. I've developed an amazing relationship with the people of Iowa. You see it right outside. We have a huge audience, a sold-out audience, always sold out. I mean, no matter where I go. But I have an amazing relationship with evangelicals, with the Tea Party, with the people of Iowa. And I hope I win Iowa. If I don't win, I mean, you know, that can also happen. And I go right to New Hampshire where we're doing great. I go right to South Carolina where we're doing great. We go into Nevada where we're leading big. And we go to the SEC where we're leading big. But I would love to win Iowa. I've spent a lot of time here. Right after this, I'm making another speech in a different part of Iowa.
With the Big Bopper.
And yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
the Big Bopper is right. So we're spending a lot of time in Iowa. I love the people, and I think we're going to do well in Iowa.
Obviously, your chief competitor is Ted Cruz. You have brought up the Canadian citizenship issue, but let me ask you your opinion. Do you believe he is constitutionally eligible? I know the Supreme Court has never weighed in on the phrase natural-born citizen. What does that mean? But you yourself, do you think he should be eligible?
So what happens is I was watching Lawrence Tribe of Harvard yesterday, who's a constitutional expert, one of the true experts. And according to him, it's a real question mark. And he is the, you know, I would say he is one of the great authorities on this subject. He has a question mark. And
but do
what
you
I say,
have a question
let me
about
tell you, from Ted's standpoint and from the party standpoint, he has to solve this problem. Because the Democrats will sue him if he's the nominee. If Ted is the nominee, he will be sued by the Democrats. And according to one of the great lawyers of the country at Harvard, with strong opinions on this, the whole thing has not been, this matter, as he said, this matter has not been determined.
I understand that,
no,
but I'm
point,
talking about your opinion.
I would say that I would want the Supreme Court to rule because they haven't ruled. And when you listen to Lawrence Tribe of Harvard say that it's a real question and a real problem. Look, if Ted wins, he's been very nice to me, I've been very nice to him. Yeah. But if Ted wins, he becomes the nominee. He goes out, day one, he's going to be sued by the other party.
By the way, do you think it's between you and him at this point? Do you buy the idea? Because right now,
no,
in almost every poll now, it is 1-2, you and him.
No, I don't personally think so. I think other people could maybe sneak up. I'm surprised at how badly some are doing. I think that some are doing really badly that I thought would have done better. And I think Ted's doing maybe better than I would have thought. But right now we're 1 and 2, although Ted's not anywhere close to number 2 in New Hampshire. If you look at that poll, he's not even close to number 2 in New Hampshire. But we'll have to see. Ted and I are definitely number 1 and 2 in Iowa. So that's where we are, and we're going to see how that. And I happen to think that, from my standpoint, now politically, I should say, oh, if I come in number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in Iowa, I'd be very happy. I wouldn't be.
You're going to be unhappy if you lose Iowa.
I would like to win Iowa. Okay.
And you're not going to.
And I say that with great, with trepidation, because this way, if I come in number 2 and really do a good job,
we're all going to say, hey, look at you.
That's okay. Yeah. I would like to win Iowa, but I think Ted and I are close here, but if you look at Ted in New Hampshire, he's not doing well at all.
Let me ask you you said something about Senator Cruz this week in a CNN interview. You said he was for amnesty. That's a big charge. What's of all people to charge being for amnesty? Where's the evidence on him?
Well, number one, he worked for Bush. Bush was heavy for amnesty.
Okay, but he worked for him.
I know, but he worked for him, and he was heavy for amnesty. And if you look at Rubio go after him, Rubio and Bush are both, claiming each other was totally for amnesty. And honestly, Marco has a lot of good points as to Ted's feeling on amnesty. Now, Ted just switched his views on ethanol. He was totally against ethanol. Now, all of a sudden, he's for it. It's Iowa, and he's for it. Whereas
where are you in ethanol?
I've been in favor of ethanol, and the people
subsidies.
like
You're
me
okay
a
with
lot.
the subsidies?
I'm okay with it. I mean, okay. I like fuel.
Right.
And ethanol is fuel. And the people out here, it's a very important subject. But Ted switched, and I think they feel very queasy about that. Look, Ted will switch opinions, and I think that's fine. And in the world, you have to have a certain flexibility.
You've changed a lot.
I've changed opinions over the years. I mean, we change. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I'll tell you one thing. I am really looking to February 1st. It's going to be very exciting.
Let me ask you, Senator Rubio sponsored a bill back in Florida, back when he was in the State House, to give in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants. There's a lot of states that allow in-state tuition for the children of undocumented immigrants. I've not heard your position on that.
I'm opposed to it.
Totally opposed.
They're here. They're not here legally. I'm opposed
Even kids
to
born to illegal immigrants.
Well, I happen to disagree with the whole concept of anchor babies. I mean, you look at anchor babies.
But that's in the Constitution.
No, it's not in the Constitution. If you read and if you look and if you go to the real scholars, like different people that I can give you, they will tell you somebody comes over and they have a baby on our border and it happens to be on this side of the border. We're not mandated to take care of that baby. You do not have to change the Constitution. You may need a vote in Congress, but you don't have to change. Now, there's a debate about that. Right. I don't think it's even close, and I've been on this issue for a long time. No. People have to come into our country legally, Chuck. They have to be here legally.
You've had 2 wives that were immigrants.
That's right. And by the way, they both went through a long process.
Under your systems, would they still be able to get in this country?
Sure they would.
Okay.
Sure. I want people to come into the country legally. I want great people to come into the country legally. And the ones that are here right now, and we have some really bad dudes right here. The gangs in Los Angeles, you take a look at some of those gangs. A lot of those gangs are illegal immigrants. They're not supposed to be here. And they are rough cookies. And the police in our country, they have been just absolutely undermined. They know all those people. They're going to get them out fast. And we're going to get the bad ones out. You look at Chicago, you look at different places where we have the gangs, they're going to get them out fast.
I guess, how do you decide if someone's a Muslim when you're doing this test?
There's got to be some kind of a method.
How do you do this method? Because you're taking somebody's word.
I'm not taking somebody's
That's
word.
my point. And if somebody really wants to do damage, they're going to lie and cheat and sneak into this country.
This has become a very big factor over the last week and a half, 2 weeks since I made my announcement that we have to see what the hell is going on. In the meantime, the other night, you have a cop shot in Philadelphia with a gun put to his head, and the chants and the rantings and the ravings. You look at the 2 Iraqis that came in Houston and Los Angeles, you see what's happening there. You're looking at a lot of bad things that are happening right now. Now you're looking at Cologne, Germany. You take a look at Cologne, Germany.
No, I understand, but how do you
wait
do
a minute,
it?
Chuck.
How do you do it, though? I get it. Or do you just say, you know what? You do it geographically. You don't even do a religious test. You do it.
People come in, if they're business people, if they're proven. But we have to find out what the problem is. There is a hell of a problem here. People can say whatever they want. There's a problem. Take a look at Brussels. I've been to Brussels. I was there 25 years ago, one of the most incredible places. Take a look at Paris. Here's a story. So a photographer from Paris, one of the great in the world, is taking pictures of my wife for a magazine. This was just a couple of days ago. One of the greatest photographers in the world lives in Paris. And she said, "Oh, Mr. Trump, it's so sad what happened. It's so dangerous. It's so sad. It's so sad." Telling me the stories. Then other people from Paris that know her are telling me the same stories. Chuck, there's a problem. We've got to get to the bottom of the problem. We've got to find out what's going on. Now, we can be politically correct and never discuss it, but we can't let that happen to our country.
Let me get some news of the week. China, clearly its economy, they're having a problem. They're having a crisis there. You have railed that China is beating America, and yet
they're killing us.
Okay, we're on our best 2-year job creation streak in 20 years. China is cratering our stock market for the problems they have at home. How is that the definition of China winning and America losing?
First of all, take a look at our GDP. Take a look at our GDP. And if you look at that, if you look at our productivity, if you look at the fact that people in 10 years essentially haven't had a raise, are people going down instead of up, the jobs, a lot of temporary jobs, people are working temporary jobs and jobs that they don't want instead of jobs. Our economy is doing horribly. And you take a look at that jobs report. The jobs report is fiction because all of the people that gave up.
Total fiction? You don't think there's been improvements
honestly,
from the crash, obviously?
Honestly, I would say it's 90%. We all have improvements from crashes. I mean, we had a crash. We had somewhat of a crash.
Yeah.
Would it have straightened itself out? Would have straightened itself out. We had somewhat of a crash. But listen, Chuck, you have 60, 70, 80 million people out there that want to work that aren't getting jobs. When people give up on looking for a job, they're essentially statistically considered to be employed.
So despite China's economic crisis that they're facing
wait
right
a
now,
minute.
what do you make of what's
Before
going
you-
on?
I had
Well, what do
two
you
of-
make of what's going on over
I
there?
had two of the richest people in the world in my office yesterday from China.
Yeah, and what do they tell you?
You know what they were here for? To pick up brand new jets. They bought jets.
Okay, but what do they tell you what's going on over
They
there?
tell me China's absolutely fine. It's having a digestion problem. I said, what's the digestion? He said, buying so much and doing so much business with the United States and other places. That's what it is. They are having a digestion. Now listen to this. China's going up 6.5%. If we went up 6.5%, we'd have the strongest country. It would be the strongest we've ever had. We're not going to hit 2% probably. China's going up 6.5%, and because of that, people are worried that they're not doing well. We don't get 2%. So China's going to be just fine. They manipulate their currency. They will manipulate it again. They will lower their currency. They will get more business coming in. They will be fine, and we will be hurt.
In 1999, on this very program, you were asked about North Korea, and at the time, you were open to a preemptive strike on their potential and the facilities that they were working on nukes. Where are you today, considering what's just happened in North Korea?
So I would like to see China take care of North Korea because China has very strong control over them. Don't let them tell you they don't. And, you know, they go around saying, well, we don't really have that much
This is an
to do.
American problem. You think this should be a Chinese
problem?
problem?
I want it to be an American problem because ultimately nukes are everybody's problem, all right? And frankly, it's a Japanese problem and it's a South Korea problem. And one of the things we have to do is we have to have South Korea and Germany and Japan and all of these countries that we essentially protect. We protect them. They have to start paying. They have to start paying.
I know. You've said this before. How does that work?
You go to them and
You're basically going to say,
first of all, they're
we'll put
behemoths.
these. You want
First
to be
of all,
you want to be on the nuclear umbrella. It
listen,
costs you money.
listen. They are.
Is that right? If you want to be in America's
They
nuclear
are
umbrella,
economic behemoths. Germany, Mercedes-Benz, all this stuff. They make tremendous amounts of money. Of course, she's destroying Germany with what she's done with the migration. What she has done is unbelievable. What she has done to Germany is unbelievable.
you're referring to Angela Merkel.
Exactly, is unbelievable. But Germany, Japan, South Korea, we have 28,000 soldiers on the line in South Korea between the madman and them. We get practically nothing compared to the cost of this. Why are we doing this? When I buy televisions, when I buy a lot of different products, I have to buy them in South Korea because they don't make them here anymore. I mean, they virtually don't make television sets in the United States anymore. They make a fortune. They're a very wealthy country. We're a very poor country.
So you're basically, so with these countries, you're going to basically say, if you want our military protection, you're going to have to do better with trade deals.
They're going to have to do better. Not trade deals. They're going to have to take care of our military. They give us very little. We are paying to take care of all these countries. You know, when you hear that we spend more money by many times than other countries, part of the money we spend is we're protecting everybody and we're not getting very much for it. Take a look at Saudi Arabia. They were making before the oil went down, so maybe they make half.
Well,
they were
they're
making
struggling.
$1 billion. Well, think of it. They were making $1 billion a day. And they pay us peanuts to protect them. And without us, Saudi Arabia wouldn't be there. So we have to get smart. We owe $19 trillion, Chuck. $19 trillion. It's going to be now $21 trillion very soon because of the stupid budget deal was just made, which is shocking that the Republicans agreed to that deal. Shocking. But we're going to be at $21 trillion in debt. We have to get smart, and when we protect Germany and South Korea and Japan, they've got to pay up. And you know what? They'll do it. They'll do it. But you have to have the right message or ask.
You just brought up the spending deal. You have said you think President Obama is a terrible negotiator.
Except when it comes to dealing with the Republicans.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. He seems to.
I'm glad you were going to say that.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like who?
No. I said the other day.
If he's such a bad negotiator, then why do the Republicans lose?
Obama's one of the worst negotiators I've ever seen on everything except when it comes to dealing with the Republicans. It's unbelievable. The Republicans fold every single time. They don't get this last budget was terrible. But you look at the Iran deal. You look at these deals. I always bring up Bergdahl. We get a traitor. They get 5 people that they've wanted for 9 years, and they're back on the battlefield trying to kill everybody, including us. And we get a dirty, rotten traitor. So let me just tell you, that's the kind of deals we make. The Iran deal, we give them $150 billion. We get nothing out of it. We don't even get our prisoners back.
They just ship the uranium out, though. I mean, they're living up to the deal.
And where do they ship it? To Russia.
Well, you trust Putin.
Well, I trust him more than some people.
I was just going to say, you.
I can tell you that. But what kind of a deal is that? Even that, they're shipping it to Russia, right?
Uh-huh.
Why are they shipping it to us? Why aren't we getting it? They're shipping it to Russia. I don't like that.
You don't like that at all?
No,
Okay.
no. I'd like them to ship it to us. It's our deal. So they get $150 billion. We don't even get our prisoners back. They have 24-day periods to, and by the way, the people don't know, the 24 days doesn't start until a whole procedure takes place. That 24-day can be a long.
Hard to wipe away nuclear material. Hard to
self-inspection.
wipe away nuclear material in 24 days.
I don't know that, and you don't know that.
Scientists tell us.
How about their rights of self-inspection? Do you think that the Iranians are going to give us good self-inspection? I don't.
All right, let me get you on.
But with the Republicans, Obama's a great negotiator. He won't be a great negotiator with me if he was there, but he won't be there.
Let me get you on what you've been saying. You've said you're willing to bring up Bill Clinton's past with women if Hillary Clinton attacks you for being a sexist. So is that a threat to her? Is that essentially what you're saying is, hey, you want me to go down that road? You go down that road, I go down this road. Is this sort of public threat?
I don't want to say it's a threat.
What is it?
It's a threat. Okay.
But it is a threat.
Of course. I mean, I can call it a nicer name. Yeah. She was saying he has tendencies toward being sexist.
Talking about who?
About?
You?
Talking about me. And I said, wait a minute. She's married to an abuser, a woman claimed rape, and all sorts of things. I mean, horrible things. You read the books.
You do know, though, if you bring it up, people are going to bring up yours.
It's okay.
I mean, your first divorce was ugly.
Number one,
it's all over the tabloids.
You know what? I wasn't the president of the United States, and I wasn't dealing in the Oval Office, all right? A big difference. I wasn't the president. And my first wife thinks I'm great, and my second wife, and I have a great marriage. I mean, I have a great marriage. So, I mean, it's fine. I'm not saying don't bring anything up with me, but when she says that, I had to bring it up. And by the way, they've become very unresponsive since then.
No, they have.
And I just won the Fox poll against her even. I'm up substantially over Hillary in the Fox poll that just came out.
As you know, people call you a lot of names. Some of it's positive, some of it's negative. I want to throw some by you. Let's see. Some people are calling you the music man of this race. Kim Kardashian, Biff from Back to the Future, George Costanza, P.T. Barnum. What's any of those? Do you consider a compliment? Or do you
P.T. Barnum.
You'll take the P.T. Barnum?
P.T. Barnum. Look, people call you names. We need P.T. Barnum a little bit because we have to build up the image of our country. We have to be a cheerleader for our country. We don't have a cheerleader. I thought Obama, when he got elected, would be a good cheerleader. That's the one thing I said. I said he'll be he'll unify the country, whether it's African American and white, and he'll unify. He's not unifying. He's been a great divider. On top of that, very bad.
You think he's been the divider? What about the Republican Party?
I think
you don't think they've?
No, I think he's.
You don't think this has been a two-way street here?
Chuck, he hasn't brought us together. He hasn't brought.
And that's on him, not on both parties?
I think it's on everybody, but he's the leader. He's the leader. He could have been a great cheerleader, and he hasn't been, and that's too bad.
What do you tell conservatives about 90s Trump? You liked the Clintons. You were pro-choice. You were even for some gun control. You wondered why the NRA would be for some limitations, some restrictions. 2016 Trump, you're not that guy.
Well, I have changed. I've changed in many ways.
Is it just, what is it? What's the change?
Take
what
a look
changed
at Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a somewhat liberal Democrat. Ronald Reagan was a liberal Democrat. And he became a fairly conservative, not overly, but a fairly conservative Republican. And as he grew older, and I've seen things and I've watched things, I mean, like with guns. If in Paris or if in California recently with the 14 people that were killed and probably others to follow in terms of that group, because you have some people that are very, very badly wounded. And in Paris, you have some people that are, but Paris is like, you can't have guns. In France, you can't have guns. If in Paris they had guns, if in California, on the other side, where the bullets go both ways, not just in one direction, right? You wouldn't have had the kind of carnage that you've had.
What should be the restrictions on purchasing guns?
Well, first of all,
where are you on this?
Okay.
Background check
for
everybody?
First of all, there's a lot of language right now that the federal government has not taken advantage of. I mean, you know that. There's tremendous language right now, stuff that's already been passed, and it was passed the old-fashioned way where people actually agreed to it. One of the problems I have with what Obama did is he's always signing executive orders.
Right.
He doesn't bring people into his office.
Are you going to sign
control.
Are you going to refuse to do executive orders as president?
I won't refuse it. I won't refuse
You'll
it.
do them
I'm
too,
going to
right?
do a lot of right things. Well, I mean, he's led the way, to be honest with you. What he's done on immigration when he signed those papers. Now, fortunately, the courts all of a sudden have done a little bit of a termination. We'll see what happens. But one of the beautiful things about executive orders from my standpoint is if I get elected, many of those executive orders that he signed the first day, they're going to be unsigned.
No, I understand that, but you're willing to use them too yourself.
Oh, I will. I'm not going to rule it out.
Final question, because I know you've got the rally
But I'm
to
going to
get
use
to.
them much better, and
So
they're going to serve a much better purpose than what he's done.
On Tuesday, we're going to hear the president say the state of our union is, in some words, strong, we're vibrant, all this stuff. What would you say? 1 year from now, it could be you giving this speech to Congress, a version of it. We don't call it the State of the Union in the first one, but a joint session speech. How would you describe the State of the Union right now?
Or in a couple of years
now
from now?
or in a year?
I think now it's a mess. Our military
You
is
go up there and
messed
say,
up.
the state of our union is a mess.
No, I wouldn't say that. You're asking me for an opinion. No,
Yeah.
Obama will say what he's going to say. But I think right now the state of our union is a mess. We can't beat ISIS. Our military is falling back. It's not being properly taken care of. Our vets aren't being properly taken care of. Obamacare, as you know, is going to fail very soon, and probably in 17. Our health care, we don't have borders. We don't have anything. I think if I'm there in 2 years and I'm making a speech, I say we're getting better fast.
And in that first speech to Congress, you're going to lay out your first 100 days agenda. What are those 4 issues that are
I
going to
want
be
to
on
build
there?
our military bigger and better and stronger than ever before.
That's number 1.
I want to take care of our veterans. I want to take care of them. They're being taken care of horribly. I want to fix our health care system. I want to create borders so that we have a country, because right now we don't have a country. We have borders where people just walk across and do whatever they want to do, and then they have babies, and the babies become citizens, and we have to take care of them.
Right.
We're going to do many, many things, and we're going to make America great again. That's what I want to do.
Oh, I forgot. There was one more question I was going to ask you. Billionaires. There's a bunch of billionaires around the world. Zuckerberg has signed on this idea. They want to basically give away more than half of their wealth in some point to philanthropic projects. Carl Icahn is a guy who has signed on to this. Good friend
Who,
of
by
yours.
the way, endorsed
Right,
me.
that's what I mean. Good friend of yours.
And
Have
he's
you
a
thought
great
about? I'm sure people have asked you to sign this
They've all asked
giving
me.
pledge.
They have all asked me.
Why haven't you done it?
Well, so far I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I have wonderful children who are doing a wonderful job, and I believe in that, and we employ thousands and thousands of people. And I like the concept of keeping the company going as opposed to selling everything and giving it away. So right now, I mean, perhaps I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm of the old school. I'd like to see my children take this great company that I've built, and it is a great company, and I'd like to see it go on for a long time. Creating jobs, lots of money, pay lots of taxes, give lots of money away. I'd make lots of big contributions. I like that better.
All right. Mr. Trump, until we meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great honor. Thank you, Chuck.
All of a sudden in Iowa, you got double-digit leads according to the CNN most recent poll. Is this now a two-man race?
I don't know that it is. I doubt it is. You know, you never know what's going to happen. I know I'm working very hard in Iowa. That's the one where somebody's closest to me, but I took a pretty big lead over the weekend, if you saw the polls that came out, including yours. We've taken big leads everywhere. I mean, nationally big leads. In New Hampshire, very, very big. In South Carolina, amazing. So Iowa's very important to me.
What do you have that Ted Cruz doesn't have?
Well, look, I don't want to knock anybody, but he's got a lot of problems. He's got a problem with his Canadian birth. He was born in Canada. It's a real question. And, you know, as you know, Lawrence Tribe from Harvard and many other lawyers are saying he can't do what he's doing. He's not allowed to run. And you have some lawyers that say definitively he cannot run. That's
Is that why his
problem.
numbers have gone down in Iowa?
I don't know. I think it has an impact because I think they said 36% of the people agree that he can't run for president. He was born in Canada, and he was born on Canadian soil. Now, he can run for Prime Minister of Canada, but I don't think he can. I honestly don't know if he can run. And there's a question mark. And you know, if he ever got the nomination, the first thing that will happen, the first day, the first week, will be he will be sued by the Democrats. And that's going to be it. I mean, you know, what are they going to do? Go 2 years and nobody's going to know? It would take years to go through the court system. So he should solve that problem. In addition to that, he has the Goldman Sachs problem where he borrowed a lot of money. He never said it. Then he borrowed money from Citibank. He never told anybody. He never disclosed it.
He did disclose it to one entity of the federal government, but not to another.
He didn't put it in his personal disclosure form, okay, financial disclosure form. And you got to do that. I mean, you got to do it. He's got two banks. But he didn't do it for a reason. He didn't do it because he doesn't want people to see that he's borrowing from banks that he's supposed to be regulating.
The establishment Republican candidates, there are basically four: Marco Rubio, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, John Kasich. Who do you see as your biggest threat?
I don't really view anybody. I just want to do my own thing, Wolf. I mean, I could say this one, that one, what difference does it make? I just want to do my own thing. We're really resonating. We're doing great with evangelicals in Iowa, as an example. And nationwide, I'm leading with the evangelicals by a lot. And we're doing fantastically with the Tea Party. They're terrific people. We're doing great with the Tea Party. We're doing great with everything. I mean, I'm leading every national poll by a lot. And now I'm leading every single state, and in most cases by a lot.
You just posted a Facebook video. You say the establishment is against you. Why do you say that?
Well, I think the establishment actually is against me, but really coming online because they see me as opposed to Cruz, who is a nasty guy who can't get along with anybody. You know, look, at a certain point, you got to make deals. We can't have a guy who stands in the middle of the Senate floor and every other senator thinks he's a whack job, right? You know, you have to make deals. You have to get along. That's the purpose of what our founders created. And Ted cannot get along with anybody. He's a nasty person. You don't see that. And even when he was supportive of me, I kept saying, watch what's going to happen. He's a nasty guy. And he brought it up at the debate. He started it. I finished it. But he brought it, you know, he started getting very bad at the debate. And then he tells lies. I mean, he said, I knocked down some woman's home. He's got bulldozers. I never knocked down her home. She didn't want it. And the words eminent domain, you wouldn't have roads. You wouldn't have airports, you wouldn't have hospitals, you wouldn't have schools. You have to have eminent domain. By the way, the Keystone Pipeline is all based on eminent domain. You wouldn't move that thing 10 feet without taking that land on which it sits. And by the way, all those people get paid a lot of money. It's not like they take it and pay a lot of money. But he makes a big deal out of eminent domain. You wouldn't have a country. You wouldn't have one highway in this country if you didn't have, you wouldn't have a railroad. You wouldn't have anything. So they make it eminent domain because most people don't know what it is. Then they have me taking a woman's house. I never took the woman's house. I never knocked down anybody's house, but they show a bulldozer knocking down a house. It's really false stuff.
You have very loyal supporters.
I do.
And in fact, I think you were joking, but you said it's getting a lot of buzz. You said you could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody. That wouldn't affect the support you're getting from your supporters.
Well, you don't think I was joking. You know I was joking. Of course I was joking. And the whole room was laughing, and I was laughing when I said it.
Because it got, you got some criticism.
Well, no, from dishonest press. They said, oh, he said something. When they show me, I'm laughing, they're laughing, everybody's laughing, everybody's having a good time. Of course I'm joking. I mean, you know that. Of course. But, and the purpose of that is to say that people love me. You know, they want to stay with me. They're loyal. They're tired of seeing our country being pushed around and led by people that are stupid people. They're tired of it, Wolf. I mean, we're tired of the Iran deals. We're tired of the Sergeant Bergdahl deals, where we get a traitor and they get 5 of their killers that they've wanted for years. They're tired of dealing like this. We can't take it anymore. And people are looking at it, and they're looking at me, and they have confidence in me. You know, I built a great, great company, and I'm going to use that talent now to do it for the United States.
Another New Yorker who's built a great company is Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York City. He's now toying with the idea of running as a third-party independent. If he were to do so, could you beat him?
I'd beat him, and I would love him to do it, actually. I love the competition. I love the competition. I would love for Michael to do it. You know, we used to be friends. I guess we're not friends anymore. I don't think we are. But we used to be friends, good friends. When I had a problem, he had a big problem in the Bronx, I cleared up the problem. There was a big project they were unable to get it built. It was under construction for like 25 years, way, way over budget. I took it over. I got it knocked up in 1 year, and now it's a tremendous success. Michael asked me if I'd get involved in it, and I'm the one that got it done and did a great job.
Well, it could be
I
competitive.
hope he's going to do it. I mean, I hope he's. I don't know that he is.
There's a lot of
but I
murmurings
hope he's
that he might do it. You've listed your net worth as about $10 billion. Forbes says, we just checked, at $36.5 billion for Michael Bloomberg.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
You don't think he's worth
No,
30?
it's a technology company. I mean, if somebody came in, frankly, and comes up with a better machine than him, people stop using.
So what do you
his
think
machines.
he's worth?
I don't even know why. I have no idea. I don't even know why other companies haven't come up with a better machine. I mean, why? I mean, it's so simple. They come up. It's such a competitive world, but for some reason they haven't come up with a machine. I don't know. Maybe because he was the mayor of New York. I don't know. But they haven't come up, and it's so easy to do, you would think. So I think it's very fragile. I like real estate better.
If he says he's ready to spend $1 billion of his own money to be elected president, are you ready to match him dollar for dollar
I don't
if
know.
you're the Republican
I don't know.
nominee?
I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to run, actually, but I may be wrong, but I don't think he's going to run.
Why
But
don't you think he might run?
I'm the only, so far, if he comes in, he'd self-fund. I'm the only person self-funding. Everyone else, I mean, Ted Cruz is totally conditioned down to the oil companies. I mean, the oil companies control him and others. You look at Jeb Bush, poor Jeb. I mean, here's a guy spent $100 and some odd million already, and he's almost last. What he's done to the Bush family, and he doesn't even want to use the Bush name. He's ashamed of the Bush name. What Jeb Bush has done to the Bush family is very sad. Then he brings out his mother. I said, Jeb, your mother can't help you with ISIS. She can't help you with China. She can't help you with these people, Jeb. You got to do it yourself. But here's a guy who spends over $100 million and he's nowhere. I mean, I think he's disgraced himself, to be honest with you. But you have all these people, whether it's Jeb or Hillary or anybody, they're all controlled by the people that give them the money. I'm putting up my own money. I'm self-funding, which is very nice.
You've called Bernie Sanders a total whack job. You've said you don't know if Hillary Clinton will make it legally. Who would you rather face in a general election contest?
I don't care. I mean, really, I don't even focus on them. I only focused on Hillary for a couple of days last week, as you saw. I don't even think about Hillary, and I don't think about Bernie Sanders. The first thing I have to do is, we had 17, now we're down to about 12 or 13. I got to get rid of them. I got to win against them. A lot of them I like. They're good people. There's some very good people in that group. I mean it. Really good people. And people that have become friends of mine. You don't see that because you won't report on that stuff. It's more, the conflicts are more fun, right? But I can't tell you really who I'd rather have. I give it a lot of thought, actually, believe it or not. But I don't think it matters. I can say this. I will win. I'll bring in states that nobody ever thought of. I think I have a chance to win New York. I defended New York. Nobody else was going to defend New York last debate, and got good credit for it, but the people in New York love that I defended them, because nobody ever defends New Yorkers, right? I'm going to win Pennsylvania. I'm going to win West Virginia. I'm going to win Virginia. I'm going to win Michigan, because I protect the car industry. Nobody else protects the car industry.
You really think you have this Republican nomination in the bag?
No, I think that I have a good chance. I mean, look, I'm leading in all the polls. Iowa is very important to me. I should say to you, well, I'd like to do well in Iowa. I don't want to do that. I'd love to win Iowa. If I don't win it, I don't win it. I go to New Hampshire where I have a very big lead, and the people up there have been unbelievably good to me. But Iowa is very important to me, and I have a great bond with Iowa, and I'm going to keep Iowa where it is. There's a big move to move Iowa to the back of the pack in the next election cycle. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that happen. I have a great bond. You look at a guy like Cruz, he came out totally opposed to ethanol. Well, that affects many farmers and many jobs in the state of Iowa. If I was in Iowa and somebody said I'm opposed to ethanol, I would absolutely not vote for him. And then the governor came out and said, you should not vote for him. I mean, they pointed, he said, it wasn't like vote for somebody. I've never even seen that. Don't vote for this guy. He's really bad for Iowa. So I think that, I'm going to do well in Iowa. I've bonded with the people. I've bonded with the evangelicals. I've bonded with the Tea Party and the people of Iowa.
Before Iowa, there's a Republican debate Thursday night. Fox is hosting that debate. You and Megyn Kelly have had issues. She's one of the moderators. Are you going to be at that Fox debate?
Well, probably. I mean, I don't like her. She doesn't treat me fairly. I'm not a big fan of hers at all. I don't care. I mean, she probably was I might be the best thing that ever happened to her. I don't know, because whoever even heard of her before the last debate. But I thought she was very unfair in the last debate. A lot of people said I won that debate. Everybody said I won the last debate. But I'm not a fan of Megyn Kelly. I don't like her. She probably doesn't like me, and that's okay. But she better be fair. I'd like to go to the debate. I enjoy the debates. I've done well in the debates. Every single poll has said I've won every debate. But we're going to see what happens. Going to be exciting.
When you say probably, you haven't 100% decided you will be at the debate?
Nothing's 100%.
Why not?
I'm not 100%. I'll see. If I think I'm going to be treated unfairly, I'll do something else. But I don't think she can treat me fairly, actually. I think she's very biased, and I don't think she can treat me fairly. But that doesn't mean I don't do the debate. I like doing the debates. I've won every single debate, according to every poll. I've won every single debate. I think the debates have been good. You know, after the last debate, I went up 11 points in the poll. I went up 11 points right after the debate. The poll came out. I went up 11 points because of the debate. So I want to do the debates. They're good for me, but I don't think she can treat me fairly, and I'm not a big fan of hers. Maybe I know too much about her.
You and I have been doing interviews for at least a decade. And you've changed your position on some issues, but on certain national security issues, you've been remarkably consistent.
It's true.
And I want to get specific with you on what you would do if you were elected president. This is October 2008. This is what you said about Iraq.
Hey, look, it wasn't Saddam Hussein that attacked the World Trade Center, okay? In fact, those people, when they sent their families back, most of them went back to Saudi Arabia. It wasn't Saddam Hussein that took down the World Trade Center. And in fact, Saddam Hussein killed terrorists. They had very few terrorists because he didn't want terrorists in Iraq, and he killed terrorists. So we go and attack Saddam Hussein. Now, Iraq now is the #1 breeding ground for terrorists. All the terrorists go to Iraq to learn their trade. You know, we all have trades, right? And they go to Iraq. But you didn't have that when Saddam Hussein was running Iraq with an iron fist. Now you do. Now, we took out Saddam Hussein. What have we created? A mess. And the day we leave Iraq, it's going to be, forget it. And there's not one word in that I would change. Not even a word. And I also said, if you went on, or I said to other people at the time, that Iran will take over Iraq. Sure, I mean, look, it's going to happen. Just like you're sitting there, Iran will take over Iraq.
Well, Iran's influence in Iraq has grown inordinately.
It's not influence. They're going to take it over. It's just a question of time. They'll just take it over. They've taken over.
All right, so what would you do?
We gave them $150 billion.
If you were president on January 20th, 2017, you're sworn in as president, what would you do to A, stop ISIS, and B, prevent, let's say, Iran from taking over Iraq?
Well, the one thing I would have done a long time ago is take the oil. And we still don't do it properly, but I would have taken the oil. And when we left, we shouldn't have been in Iraq. And I said, don't go into Iraq, and don't go in. You're going to destabilize the whole Middle East. Another thing I said there, if you go on, you're going to totally destabilize the Middle East, and Iran is going to take over. Okay. Now we're in, because of stupid decisions, we're in. And they didn't knock down the World Trade Center, by the way, okay? They had nothing to do with knocking down the World Trade Center. So we're in Iraq. We've spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives, wounded warriors all over the place we're in. And now Iran is taking it over. I would take the oil, but I would have taken the oil when we left. As bad as it was, we shouldn't have been there. I would have taken the oil when we left. Because we just left a shell. These aren't politicians. These are corrupt officials running Iraq. These are totally corrupt people. And Iran, essentially, is right now controlling Iraq. If you look over history, they would fight, but they were equal. They would fight. Nobody would move. They would fight for years and years. It was because they was there.
So how
we
aggressive would you be?
We decapitated their military, and now Iran goes in and
How aggressive would you be in trying to destroy
I don't want to
ISIS?
tell you. You know why? Because we want to be unpredictable. We need unpredictability in this country. You're asking a question like that. I know it's politically never good to say, I don't want to tell you, but I have a good chance of winning. I don't want the enemies and even our allies to know exactly what I'm thinking. We've got to be poker players. We've got to be chess players. We're you know what we are. We're checker players, and we don't play well. And part of the reason is we always tell everything. Like Obama goes, and he's got 50 people that he's sending over. Why does he have to make an announcement he's sending 50 people? He's sending 50 soldiers, our finest, over there to Iraq and to Syria. Why does he have to say that? Why does he have to announce it? Why couldn't he just let them go?
But
now
would
they
you
have a
use
target.
ground
Excuse me.
forces
Now
to-
they have a target on their back.
Would you use ground forces to destroy ISIS?
I will tell you, I will destroy ISIS. I will destroy ISIS. Do you know how bad it is for me to say that? Wouldn't it be nice if we could surprise him? General George Patton didn't say, he doesn't, and Wolf Blitzer, would you use ground force? Yes, I would use. No, I wouldn't use. You got to have some element of surprise. You have to have some unpredictable. We are so predictable. You have to be unpredictable a little bit. When Obama announced that he was leaving, okay, he gave us a definite day when he said we're leaving Iraq. We shouldn't have been there, but he should have never announced a date certain when we were leaving. We're totally predictable as a nation. Now, bottom line, I will do a number on ISIS like you wouldn't believe. but I don't want to sit here and tell you every single thing I want to do. You know, at some point, we're warriors, right? At some point, you have to surprise the enemy. I mean, I watch these guys like Lindsey Graham, who's just not a smart person. He says, we have to go here with this number of people, and we have to attack them from this level and this level. Wouldn't it be nice if we could surprise them and knock the hell out of them?
Another interview we did on September 24th, 2007, right here. You said this about America's standing in the world at the time.
Well, just look at this country. We've gone from this tremendous power that was respected all over the world to somewhat of a laughingstock. And all of a sudden, people are talking about China and India and other places, even from an economic standpoint. America's come down a long way, a long way. The United States has come down a long way, and it's very, very sad. We're not respected. That was the beginning of China. Well, and that was the beginning of China. That was the beginning of India, when India, by the way, India is doing great. Nobody talks about it. And I have big jobs going up in India. But India is doing great. But that was the beginning of China. That was the beginning of India. Look at everything I told you. Everything I told you is all right, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Iran, whether it's China, whether it's India, whether it's Japan.
President George W. Bush, he was in office in 2007.
Absolutely.
When you said
I'm no fan. I've never been a fan of Bush.
But who's more responsible for the weakening of America internationally? Would it be President Bush or President Obama? Because you've been very critical of both.
I think Bush did a bad job, and I think Obama carried it out. He continued to do a bad job.
Who do you blame more?
I would say that it's pretty equal. I would say that Obama's been very, very weak. It could have been stemmed at the beginning of his administration. What he didn't do is he didn't stop Obama. The devaluation of the Chinese currency has absolutely destroyed us. It's killed us. They have created one of the great thefts of all time. They have stripped our country of jobs, of money, of factories. You look at the number of factories that have closed. And I'm not only talking about China, I'm talking about other countries too. Look at Mexico, what they're doing to it. It's unbelievable. That's a mini version of China. And Obama allowed them to get away with it now for almost 8 years.
If you were elected president, would you move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem?
I would, yes.
How quickly would you do that?
I'd do it fairly quickly. I have a lot of friends in that world. You know, I was the Israeli Day Parade, 2004. I was the Grand Marshal walking up Fifth Avenue. And I have great relationships to Israel. And by the way, the worst thing that's ever happened to Israel is Barack Obama, and especially with respect to this horrible deal that we just made with Iran. This is the worst thing that's happened to Israel. I do not know, and I tell my Jewish friends, how do you support this guy? He's a disaster for Israel. And most of them don't know. They say, we don't know. It's almost like it's a habit.
Back in 2008, when we spoke, you called Sarah Palin, who has now endorsed you, quote, very impressive, and you said you would trust her with the economy.
I would trust her, yes.
To deal with this economic crisis, the enormity, it's something that we haven't seen, some say, since the Great Depression?
Well, look at what other people have been doing, and they had a lot of experience, and they're the ones that got us into this mess. Maybe you need less experience. Well, that was when she was chosen as the vice presidential nominee by John McCain. And I backed John McCain 100%. He was, having an uphill battle because he was sort of like what happened. The last year of Bush was a disaster. And John McCain was having a hard time. And yes, I always liked Sarah Palin. I respected her. I loved her loyalty, even her loyalty to me. Look at the beautiful loyalty to me. She went out the other day and backed me in front of thousands of people. We had a packed arena at Oral Roberts University, and it was packed. Bernie, by the way, does not get crowds like that.
You get very big crowds. There's no doubt about that. And we've mentioned
and
that
Bernie
many
is second.
times.
I will say.
He gets big crowds,
but
too.
It's nowhere near.
Would you consider Sarah Palin for your cabinet?
I don't want to even talk about it now. The nice part? She didn't ask. She called me up. She said, I love what you've done. You've created a movement. You're going to win. I would love to endorse you. And I was a little bit surprised because I thought she might endorse. She's endorsed Cruz in the past. In fact, without her endorsement, he wouldn't have won for the Senate in Texas. So I was really impressed that she did that, but she never asked for a thing.
Did you see Tina Fey reprising
I did.
Sarah Palin's Saturday Night Live?
I did. It was very cute.
And Daryl Hammond plays you. What do you think of him?
Well, I think Daryl's great. I mean,
he does a pretty good job.
He does pretty good.
It's very funny. You got to admit.
He's very good.
One final question. A lot of buzz that you slept in a Holiday Inn Express.
I did.
The other day. How did that go?
2 nights, actually. They
Two
said
nights.
1 night. It was actually 2 nights. I thought it was terrific. It was clean. It was nice. And the bed was good. That's all I need. I don't need Mar-a-Lago. I want to win. I want to make our country great. I want to devote my energy, whatever this ability that I've had over the years for making things really good and doing well. That's why when I put in my statements, my financial statement, I'm a private company, people couldn't believe how successful I am. More successful than they even thought. I built a great company, some of the greatest assets in the world. And I say that only in that that's the kind of thinking this country needs. We have people that are incompetent running our country. We can't have it anymore. We're not going to have a country left. We're going to do something great. We're going to make America great again.
We sat down with Donald Trump last night immediately after the debate and asked him how it looked from his end.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, they were shooting. Well, it was interesting. I mean, they were shooting at me because I'm leading by a lot, but I found it to be an amazing evening. I thought it was fascinating, actually. I actually liked it. As you know, they say I won many of the debates. I thought this might have been my best performance. The interesting thing is I was being hit from all sides. And I'm doing here, I'm there, but I think it was probably my best performance. Who knows?
It seems, though, that in some of the things in your campaign, you've moderated a little. You seem to recognize the fact that people might be turned off by constant fighting.
Oh, I
in the
do.
campaign.
I'd like to be. You know, hey, look, I went to an Ivy League school. I know how to behave. I can be so politically correct, you would be just bored to tears, John. But I fully understand that. But at the same time, when somebody comes at you with lies, I mean, a lot of lies out there. When you look at what Cruz did in Iowa with the voter, I don't know if you saw it, the voter violation, where they made up a fraudulent form, looked like it came to a government, demanding that people go out and vote for Cruz. When you look at stuff, or what he did to Ben Carson, I mean, they have to be called out. These are dishonest people.
You mentioned that the World Trade Center came down during George W. Bush's presidency.
Right.
Are you blaming him for
I'm
that?
not blaming him, although the CIA and other groups, but the CIA said there was a lot of information that something like that was going to happen. I'm not blaming anybody. It's a tragedy, a horrible tragedy, worst in our country's history, worse than Pearl Harbor, because you're talking about civilians, not the military, right? Thousands of people killed, a horror show. Now, could he have done something about it? His CIA knew about things happening. I mean, you could have said, but when Jeb gets up and says, we were safe under his brother, we weren't safe. First of all, his brother got us into the war in Iraq, which is one of the worst catastrophes ever. There were no weapons of mass destruction. The World Trade Center came down during his reign. So you can't say that we were safe under his reign when the World Trade Center comes down and the CIA said something like that was going to happen.
George W. Bush is a pretty popular guy in South Carolina. And when you say that he lied, as you did, and you said that weapons weren't there, I mean, the intelligence...
There were no weapons of mass destruction.
But this is basically the Democratic Party lying.
I don't care. Look. I'm a businessman. I built a great company. I'm self-funding my campaign. All of the people in the audience, most of them were special interests. They were, I mean, it was all stacked for these people, which is fine. I mean, it's fine, but it's really not appropriate. But the people in the audience were lobbyists and special interest people. I don't have any of those people because I'm putting up my own money. I tell the truth, okay? There were no weapons of mass destruction. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying he went in there. He thought there were weapons of mass destruction, maybe, or maybe he didn't, okay? But he thought there were weapons, and there weren't. So I'm telling the truth.
But you said he lied. That's a little more
well,
than just
he
thought.
If he knew that there weren't weapons of mass destruction, and if he used that as an excuse to go in and try and make up for some sins for previous years, then it would be a lie. But I don't think, maybe that's true, and maybe it isn't true.
Impeached. You wouldn't own that anymore. You had once said in 2008 you thought he should be impeached.
Let me tell you something. The war in Iraq has been a disaster. It started the chain of events that leads now to the migration, maybe the destruction of Europe. He started the war in Iraq. Am I supposed to be a big fan? Now, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative. So many lies are made. But the truth is that we started the war in Iraq. We spent $2 trillion on that war. We lost thousands of lives. We have wounded warriors who I love all over the place. It shouldn't have started. We would have been so much better off if Bush and the rest of them went to the beach and didn't do anything. If you had Saddam Hussein, who's a bad guy and all of that, but he made a living off killing terrorists. Now, if you want to become a terrorist, you go to Iraq. That's like the Harvard of terrorism, okay? So, look, it was not a great job. Now, people can say he's popular. I don't know why he's popular. But we also had an economic collapse at the end of his term. That economic collapse gave us Barack Obama. Without that collapse, we wouldn't have had Barack Obama.
Let me ask you about politics now. You had a tough ad hitting Senator Cruz saying he couldn't be trusted. You said you pulled it down, but I just watched it on TV.
No, I pulled it down because I wanted to be nice. I wanted to be a very nice person. And then I saw him do a negative ad on me, so I said, put it back up. It's a very honorable ad. It's a very honest ad. It's just tough. He's a nasty guy. People don't like him. Think of it. You're a United States Senator. You have a lot of friends that are in the Senate, or in his case, he doesn't have any friends. You don't have one endorsement from one U.S. Senator. These are the people that work with him. How can that be possible?
You also have questioned his Christianity. Is that a Christian thing to do, to question?
No, I say this. You can't lie and then hold up the Bible, okay? He consistently lies. What he did to Ben Carson was a disgrace. What he did with the voter violation form, which is a fraud, is a disgrace. And you can't do that. You can't hold up all of these values and hold up the Bible and then lie.
Speaking of holding up the Bible, you promised not to use profanity anymore. Did I hear that?
You know, I've always done it just as a way of emphasis and had fun doing it. But running in politics, we can't do it. I mean, I get standing ovations. The other night, I got standing ovations from minor stuff. And a lot of times I don't use the word, John. You know, you had it bleeped out. I didn't use the word. I explained that tonight, I hope.
You used a few other words.
But not big deal. You know, Jeb Bush goes on, and he said he's going to rip down his pants and moon everybody on the street. Moon everybody. Nobody writes about it. It's in a couple of papers, but nobody writes about it. That's far worse. He says he's going to rip down his pants and moon everybody? This is a presidential candidate?
Seems like a race to the bottom to me.
No, it's terrible. I think it's terrible, but I didn't say it. He did.
I mean, you won New Hampshire. And now, give me your sense of the campaign right now.
I think we're doing great. I just don't want to have people, you know, do robocalls. Like, as an example, robocalls. This is a crazy business. I mean, you know, I deal with Manhattan real estate. These people are babies compared to the politicians. Robocalls put out, I'm leading by a lot, as you know, and robocalls put out by, we think, Cruz, because it was one of his top people, saying that Donald Trump is not going to be running in South Carolina. Vote for Ted Cruz. That's a fraud. So what I have is, because I have a little bit of a, you know, microphone out there, what I have is I'm able to explain to people that it's a lie. A lot of people couldn't do it. Ben Carson wasn't able to do that. They hit him very quickly. They took away a lot of votes from Ben Carson.
Your tax returns, when are we going to see them?
I'd say over the next 3-4 months. We're working on them very hard, and they'll be very good.
That sounds like they'll come out after potentially the nomination is
No, I don't know. I'll do them as soon. Look, I'm the first one to put my financial statement out. I put out a financial statement with no extensions, with no anything. But I have one of the world's most complicated tax returns. It's a massive return, and but I will get it done as soon as I can. Remember this. When I did my financials, which are frankly much more important, when I did my financials, everybody thought it would take a year to put them out. I put them out in 30 days, and everybody was very impressed with them.
Finally, the veterans' money that you raised, what's the status of that?
Well, we've given away a lot of it. Much of it is given away. Most of it's in the mail.
How much is
Well, I don't know. I can tell you, I don't know. You know, a lot of it's just going from the people that made it directly to the veterans groups. But much of it is going, I'd say millions have been given out already. I'm very proud of it.
All right, Donald Trump,
Thank you
so
very
much.
Thank you.